and welcome to a new episode of our Summer in New York City series. It's me, it's Flor, and today we are going to be exploring Nolita. So first of all, there are 3 facts that I wanted to share about this neighborhood before getting started. Number 1 is, of course, the name Nolita. If you're wondering where that comes from, I know it sounds very trendy, and Nolita actually means north of Little Italy. Same as Tribeca that we visited a few vlogs back. Nolita is also short for a phrase that means where the neighborhood is located, and that is north of Little Italy. Fact number 2 is that this is actually a very small neighborhood. Its limits are Houston Street to the north, Bowery Street to the east, Lafayette Street to the west, and Broome Street to the south. And the third fact about this area really has to do with the 2 previous ones that I mentioned, and it's that this area, Nolita, actually used to be part of Little Italy. Little Italy is located to the south of Nolita, and around the middle of the 1990s, people started to feel like this area did not feel as Little Italy that much. It felt a bit different. Some of the very Italian restaurants had closed. The people that live here had changed, and they felt like this area needed to be renamed. Actually, in 1996, the New York Times ran a section proposing new names for the area, and Nolita was the one that seemed the most original, that stuck with people. So since around that time, this area got this name, and this neighborhood is now Nolita. Now that you know there's 3 main facts about the neighborhood, the question is, of course, what is the plan for the day? So first of all, we are gonna go grab a late lunch because I'm hungry and I want to eat lunch. So I would say that lunch is a very pressing matter. In this area, I'll talk more about that later, but it has some of the best restaurants of New York City, in my opinion. I have eaten at so many restaurants around here. And then one of my big plans, I would say, for this day is to visit Elizabeth Street Garden. I'll get more into detail into why I want to visit this particular garden on this episode at this time of the year and stuff when we get there. But I would say that those are my 2 main plans for the day. This video and this vlog, I feel like it's going to be more about the vibes, about the feel of New York City, how it feels to walk the streets, to eat at restaurants around here, to be sightseeing, to be visiting New York City, and not so much about the history. I love to talk about the history of New York City. You already know that. But this time around, I'm more about how this neighborhood feels, how it looks like, what you can find in here. If you happen to be in Nolita anytime soon during a trip, and if not, as always, you can just feel like you're walking through this neighborhood with me. Now that we have our intro and you know what's coming, I would like to introduce myself. Hi, my name is Flor, and if you're new here and you still haven't subscribed, go ahead, hit the subscribe button down below, hit the notification bell so you can get notified of every time I upload a new video, which is usually every week. And if you want, you can also go ahead, follow me on Instagram as Flo Pereira, as you're going to see right here. Now let's go out and let's explore Nolita. Let's go! So I found a quiet spot here on Elizabeth Street Garden, and I wanted to tell you more about the story of this place and why I wanted to come and visit it. So I know I said at the beginning that we would not be talking history on this vlog, but we need to. This used to be a public school. It was built in the early 1900s and it worked as such for around 50 years. At that time, they decided to demolish the school and they built apartments in its place. But the area where the playground of that school was, it remained undeveloped and basically abandoned for some time. In 1990, the person that was running the gallery that's located right next door to Elizabeth Street Garden, can't remember his name, but I put it up here. He asked the city to visit this place and to convert it into a garden. And he did that. He started by planting trees. He incorporated lots of art that's very peculiar and not something that you see quite often in city parks. But because he had a gallery, he thought that was something that could be part of this garden. And after 15 years or so of working on the garden, he decided to make the garden open to the public and it was accessible through his art gallery. Some time passes and in 2012, the Department of Education, which was still the owner of this plot of land since a school was here 100 years ago, decides to transfer the ownership of this land to the Housing Authority of New York. And that's when the real trouble starts, because that transfer of ownership means that the city, its housing department now owns this and they want to build a building. Around the time neighbors organized, they found the Elizabeth Street Garden community as a nonprofit organization. The garden started being accessible through the street rather than through the gallery, and they started working towards basically saving this space. This was 2012, so 12 years ago, and you might be thinking, okay, they made it. I mean, I'm in this garden, 12 years have passed, something must have happened. But the truth is that that's not the case. The city moved forward with its plans, and as you probably know, anything that's built by the government usually takes a lot of time. So every approval process takes time, there are many steps, so things move very, very slow. And this whole plan got into a new phase in 2019. That's when the neighbors of this area, the organization, everyone involved into preserving the space, they decide to sue the city. So they filed a lawsuit in order to stop the city from being able to demolish this place and build apartments here instead. Now 5 years have passed since then, and in June of this year of 2024, a judge finally decided to give the city permission to demolish Elizabeth Street Garden and to build houses here. In the city's defense, what they say is that this would be affordable housing. So that's why they think building in the spot is very important to allow people to have a house, have a place to live, and for that not to be very expensive. But on the other side, the community that runs this garden and the nonprofit argue is that this green place is a sanctuary. It's something that does not exist in the area. You have nothing like it. This area, if you look at it in a map, you'll see that there are not any green spaces at all. And it's really a part of this community where people come to meet their friends, to have lunch, to read a book, to work, to spend some time alone or with someone else. And having it demolished and destroyed after so many years would really be something tragic. So as of right now, when I'm filming this, we are at the end of August and the demolition of this place is scheduled to take place in the first few days of September. And that's really it. As of right now, there's no real actual plan for this garden to be saved, and apparently it's going to be demolished. A lot of people have signed a petition to save this garden. I will leave the link to this petition down below in the description box. I have signed the petition as well. It's pretty easy. You'll see that on the link that I include. And there are a lot of famous people also that have spoken about this garden, like Robert De Niro and Martin Scorsese and Patti Smith. People that maybe used to live around this area, that used to come here as kids, or that lived in this area when this did not exist, but think, oh, it would have been great when I was a kid to have a garden like this one. People that have come here for inspiration, for dates, for a fun time with friends. I really feel like in New York, when people come together as a community to save a place that's part of a neighborhood, that's part of the city, that's been here for so many years, it usually turns out right and things end up being preserved and saved. But I don't know where the story is going right now. This is one of those times where I'm telling a story and I don't really know the ending. It's very up in the air, very TBD, but I really hope that this garden gets saved by the community and for the community, for all of us to enjoy it now and for many years to come.
It never rains in California. The sun is always shining bright. People are smiling, making plans, hiding behind their shades, and you're doing the same. No rain, no flowers, nothing's growing where you're at. Heart is fire, but baby, I bet you're cold without me, even when it's 90 degrees. Without me, I bet that you can get any sleep in that bed, lying awake, 'cause I'm not there beside you, keeping you warm and I know, I bet you're cold.
I said earlier on this video that I have been to this area multiple times and that I have eaten at lots of the restaurants in Nolita. So I want to recommend some of them in case you are ever around this area and you're looking for some place to grab a bite. So first of all, the Butcher's Daughter. This place is perfect if also to note if you're screaming in the background or water. I'm at a playground, not inside the playground, but right next to it. So that's why it's kind of loud. But anyways, the Butcher's Daughter is perfect. It's a vegan spot, but I've been there. I'm not vegan, I'm not vegetarian, and I love the food that they make. Everything is so tasty, so good, great ambience. The place is beautiful. They have a couple of locations around the city, but this one is one of my favorites. The other spot that I went to is called Noodles Lab. This is perfect if you love Asian food, if you love everything like ramen and noodles. If that's your vibe, then you're gonna love this place. I was there, I think like maybe 5 years ago or so. It's probably not my favorite, but just because that food is not my favorite, but I really liked it and the prices were pretty good. Then another place that I visited, it's called Little Ruby's Cafe. This one is right around the corner from where I'm filming, and I was there actually a few months ago with Austin. I showed it on one of my vlogs. It's a really nice spot. It's like a typical New York spot where you can have like all day brunch. You have your toast and your eggs and all like breakfast items that are very New York. I really liked it and highly recommend that one. I've also been to Cafe Leon Dore. I only had coffee over there, but I liked it and I recommend that one as well. And I've also had coffee at Sant'Ambrose. I think that's the name, or Sant'Ambrose. I never know how to pronounce it correctly. I had iced coffee there I think 2 years ago and I loved it. It was my first time actually having iced coffee. I've only had frappuccinos in the past and I liked it and it introduced me to the world of iced coffee, believe it or not. So those are the places that are my favorites and the ones that I recommend in this area. Of course, it was not possible to include all of them on this vlog. I actually ended up going to a place I've never been before, which is Cafe Gitane, and that's where I had lunch today. I still wanted to highlight these 5 places because I've been there before, I like them, and I think you should go over there as well. on this vlog, there are two, I would say, fun facts that I wanted to share about Nolita. First of all is that San Gennaro, which is an Italian fest, it still takes place in Nolita, even though it's an Italian fest. Part of it is on the blocks that nowadays are Nolita instead of Little Italy, and that's because it started back in the 1920s when everything was considered Little Italy, both Nolita and what is still now Little Italy. That's one of the fun facts that I wanted to share. The other fun fact is that, do you know St. Patrick Cathedral, the big cathedral on Fifth Avenue? Big, popular, everyone knows where that is, everyone visits that on your visit to New York. Well, the first St. Patrick's Cathedral actually used to be here in this area until it was moved up to Fifth Avenue, and the place where this cathedral was then turned into a regular church since it was not a cathedral anymore. But after a few years they renamed it and it's now called the Old Cathedral of St. Patrick, or Old St. Patrick Cathedral, to kind of honor its history and what it once was. I read about those two things earlier today or at some point last week, and I thought they were worth mentioning. There may be things that you would like to know if you're ever in this area for yourself, or maybe because you want to seem like the person that knows everything about New York City if you're visiting with someone else. With all that, I am now going to say goodbye. I really hope you enjoyed this vlog, episode number 6 of the summer series. We are actually approaching the end of summer, and with that, it's also going to be the end of the summer series. But I'm really hoping you're liking it. If you just discovered this video, you have to know there are 5 previous episodes where we went through Tribeca, West Village, Seaport District, Greenpoint, and I'm missing something that I can't remember right now, but you have all those videos linked down below in the description box. Really hope you like this video. If that is the case, of course, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already, so you can get to see new videos every single week. And you can also go ahead, follow me on Instagram as Pereira, as you're going to see right here. With all that, that's my cue to say goodbye. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!